Hi there, welcome to my Sleep Talks channel. My name is Alina. I am a former insomniac and currently helping others to get their sleep back. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the nighttime awakenings and particularly how to approach them. But before we begin, I want to briefly say a few things. First of all, none of this is a medical advice. I'm not a doctor, not a therapist. I'm just sharing my general thoughts and ideas. And the second thing is my other resources regarding insomnia recovery journey, and you can check them out. I have Instagram page where I share from time to time some new posts, new text that I write. I also have my weekly newsletter where I go a bit deeper into the process of insomnia recovery, and I share some of the valuable insights there as well. So check out those resources. I will provide all the links in the description. So let's begin. The problem of waking up at night several times and not being able to fall asleep is pretty common, and usually it is referred to as maintenance insomnia. There are generally two types of insomnia. The first one is called onset insomnia, where a person has difficulty to fall asleep in the first place. And then the maintenance insomnia, where a person doesn't have particular struggles with, falling asleep, but then they keep waking up throughout the night. And it might look in all sorts of ways. For example, waking up at a particular hour every night and then not being able to fall asleep for a long time or for the rest of the night. Or it's early awakening, or it is like waking up constantly throughout the night. And the onset insomnia and maintenance insomnia, they are not really different in the way how to approach them, because behind them there is the same old mechanism we call hyperarousal, which means basically at some point the brain learns that being awake is not good, is not safe, and therefore it tries to warn us about this danger. The brain is trying to warn us about this danger by making us more awake, paradoxically. The process of why maintenance insomnia is happening, why we keep waking up, lies in our survival mechanism. If you think about anyone without insomnia, you can also imagine that they can wake up at night, and in fact they do wake up at night, but because there is no reaction, there is no fear, there is no expectation or pressure to sleep, they fall asleep pretty much fast after that. But someone who has developed the fear and all this kind of reflexes regarding awakening will experience more struggle with getting back to sleep. So the problem is not really in the awakening as such. Such thing can happen, and it actually does happen to everyone. Every single person on the planet wakes up at night, but the problem is what that awakening means to us. Normally we go through different stages of sleep. So there is deeper stages of sleep, then there's lighter stages of sleep, and then these kind of stages create cycles. So throughout the night we go through several cycles like this, and at the end of each cycle we are going through a particular stage which is very close to the state of awakening. And therefore, in those times, usually it is called this REM sleep stage. Usually in those periods of time, we are more likely to wake up. In fact, many people do wake up, but because there is nothing much happening during this awakening, they don't really remember those awakenings. So majority awakenings are never even remembered by any normal human being. So to them it feels like they've been sleeping the whole time without any awakenings. Now, as someone who does have fear of insomnia, each awakening is accompanied with a lot of hyperarousal, and therefore these awakenings are stay in the memory. So as I said, the awakening in itself is not the problem, but what that awakening means to us actually creates the struggle here. So it is logical to assume that by changing that reaction, changing the perception of awakening, we can actually quit this vicious cycle. So how do we change the meaning of awakening for ourselves? And of course it is by our behavior, by our thinking patterns, by changing the way we look at it. Changing our response is the way how to show the brain that there is nothing to fear. And here is something that the concept of befriending wakefulness, or spending this time with something pleasant or non-pressuring activity becomes super useful. Instead of trying hard to sleep, we actually do something that is not connected with the task of falling back asleep. People choose to do whatever they feel like doing, and it doesn't have to be something particularly fun or joyful. It could be something that just doesn't add any more pressure. Some people decide to watch their favorite TV shows or reading a book or listening to a podcast. It doesn't matter where they do it, whether they do it in the living room or in other room or in bed. It's all good as long as you don't, I would say, punish yourself for being awake, because this is usually a very tricky situation when once a person wakes up and then they try to do something boring, they try to intentionally make themselves more sleepy, and paradoxically they become more awake and more frustrated. So the point of nighttime activities is not into making ourselves more sleepy, but actually show that even if we happen to wake up at night, that's okay. We can still spend this time in a meaningful or pleasant way. Of course, there are some people who may argue that, okay, but by doing something more enjoyable or something that I want to do, wouldn't I make myself more awake? And here is I would say the most interesting part is that after I went through my insomnia myself, I learned that spending time in a meaningful or pleasant way is much, much more beneficial to our insomnia recovery journey than spending the same time trying hard to fall asleep. So in a way, we have no control over when we will fall asleep. We don't know when it comes because sleep is beyond our control. There's no way to predict it. But the way how to spend the wakefulness before that can actually make a huge difference in what happens in the long run with the insomnia recovery journey. The more we feel safe and non-pressured during night when we happen to be awake, the sooner we feel more at peace in general, and paradoxically this is when those awakenings will stop happening. Just to wrap up this episode, the most important thing in approaching this situation with awakenings is to realize that it is normal to wake up at night. Every normal human being wakes up at night. It is the sleep structure, sleep architecture is built in a way that there are some stages where we come very, very close to awakening, and this is where most awakenings happen for every normal human beings. So the point of recovery is not to make sure that we don't have any awakenings or that we know how to prevent them. That's impossible from physiological point of view. But our task is to change our relationship with that. So first of all, if we happen to wake up at night, we can take it as something normal that's happened, something that happens to any healthy, normal human being. And the second step here is to find the way how to make this time as least pressuring as possible, possibly even enjoyable if that's available to us. But the most important thing is to not try to get back to sleep. And the way how this befriending wakefulness would look like for you can differ a lot. It depends on what you feel naturally drawn to at that particular moment. If you feel like you want just to stay in bed and just enjoy the coziness of the bed, that's completely fine. If you want to get up and do something, that's fine as well. Watch TV, listen to music, whatever, put on headphones, doesn't matter. Whatever you can think of that would remove the pressure from falling back asleep will be much better alternative than spending the time trying harder to sleep. Give this video a thumbs up if you found this helpful, or if not, then and you have some questions, just write them in the comments. I would check them out and see if there is more explanation I need to do on the awakening part. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next videos. Bye.